Welcome to Career Step Forward. I'm Christiane Beinroth with my online consulting Azurate. Welcome and hello. This episode is part 2 of a 4-part series called Qualities and Soft Skills That Come Handy When You Work Internationally. In today's episode, we will be talking about qualities and soft skills, or you could also say attitudes, that serve your personal relationships when working internationally. So today, we are focusing on one specific area, and that is your personal relationships. Now, before we get into, what qualities or soft skills can be helpful, let's look at this a little more closely. When you work internationally, and that can be, we said in the last episode, it doesn't matter if it's a long-term expat position where you move with your whole family, or even something where you just travel here and there to an expat location and work a lot virtually and your family stays back home. It doesn't matter. We find our personal relationships usually affected by it. And what happens is that goals and agreements and routines that you had, habits, maybe suddenly don't fit anymore, or you can't stick to those agreements, you can't stick to those routines. They are interrupted. Could also be that who you are, you feel like something is changing in you, your identity is shifting. So, and that is what we want to take into consideration today and say, wait a minute, here we don't only have an international assignment and we want to see what qualities you want to have for that, but you also have a personal life, you have a private life, and often there's a spouse involved and maybe even children involved. And even if there's no spouse or children, but you have personal relationships and they are affected by the position. So we want to see what can we do, what attitudes, approaches, or skills come handy, can be helpful when we want to just keep our personal relationships healthy or find solutions that work for us, for our situations. So let's start with this, and the very first one is one that sounds kind of simple, but I think it's maybe the most important one. And that is, it's the skill to recognize, to notice, to admit, and really admit also that the assignment is affecting the personal relationships. Let's say this again. So the first important step that we have is we want to even recognize and realize, notice and admit the mere fact that our job assignment is affecting personal relationships. And then also, of course, become more aware and learn how to be aware in what ways it affects our relationships and detect it. And this is really important because I think we can be pretty busy with the details of our work assignment. If you have a move involved, it could be that we are very busy with the transition or the international move, but how it really affects our personal relationships. And like we said, our routines, agreements, goals, how it changes us. Just alone that we are able to recognize that, notice it and acknowledge it and give it space and give it importance, that is really key. I really think if we can manage to do that and really be aware of the change, the effect that it has, we are already very far. You will say, well, but I don't have any solutions yet. But this first step of giving it attention, giving this topic attention, notice and just acknowledge and also admit that maybe some things are really not running so well, maybe even in a relationship, or that kids are not adjusting in the way we expected them to, or the goals you had, suddenly somehow you find yourself in limbo land. Alone that is a huge step forward and a huge success already in the process. The next point would be to be ready to learn, to have an attitude to learn and be learning. Especially when we get older and we bring some professional experience, life experience, we are often the ones that are teaching others that are maybe less and less the learning ones. But I think when it comes to maintaining our personal relationships and making sure they are healthy, it is great to have an attitude of learning and saying, you know what, I have unexpected new situations and I'm open to learning from people in the field who had the same experiences, professionals maybe who can help me in this, like a coach or something, a trainer. It just in basic have this attitude, being open to learning. On the one hand, be confident about what you know, and also that you are strong and equipped and ready for this job assignment, and that your relationships are strong enough to live life with an international assignment. On the one hand, yes, definitely have the assurance you are strong, you are capable, but also still at the same time being always open to learn, to say, okay, this seems to be an area where I need to learn more. What can I do about my relationships, the relationship with a spouse, or relationships to the kids or immediate family, anything like that. So being ready to learn from a place of security. You know what you know. I mean, you are qualified, you are equipped, you have expertise, and nevertheless, we never stop learning in life. And as life shifts and situations change, it is just amazing if we can have this openness to just learning from other people, from resources, and just getting inspired in a new way to find solutions for your relationships. Okay, next point. The next point would be to have an attitude to be creative, curious, flexible, open. Kind of, it goes along a little with the learning, but I would say being creative, being curious. The interesting thing about being creative, we can only be creative in a sense. Being creative kind of requires a certain also attitude of being relaxed or being positive about it, not being all too stressed about a situation. So if we can approach our situation with an international work life, and even if we see that something in our personal relationships is not working well, and we realize we need to figure it out and find new solutions, it is still good to just keep that positive attitude, because otherwise we can't be creative. Just be, how would I say, in a way have this attitude of just knowing, trusting that it will work out. You're strong enough, and you have it in you what you need to find out. So we want to have a creative attitude. Stay creative. Just be unconventional in finding ideas. Think a little out of the box, and so on. The next thing, curious, is the same. Being curious or being a curious person is one thing. Like, I'm a curious person. I love knowledge. I love to live in the age of Google. Honestly, I'm so happy I can just take my iPhone or laptop and just look stuff up if I want to have new information. But I think it's also when it comes to unexpected situations, which can happen in an international setting, let's have a curiosity towards those unexpected situations. Don't see them as a threat, but see them as, approach them with an attitude of curiosity. And again, also when it comes to the point of flexibility, how maybe we need to adjust certain routines we have for habits, or maybe even goals and agreements. We have to rethink them and find better agreements when we have just a different life setting. To stay flexible and be open to do things differently, but we do it from a basis of trusting that even if it doesn't turn out the way how we had planned it now, but we want to shift and choose a different direction or a different habit, or change our routine, set slightly different goals, that we know it will be good. I think it's this overall outlook on life we want to have in it too. So be creative, curious, flexible, but just with a basic a knowledge or expectations that life means well with us too, that it is well. Okay, yeah, we're getting a little philosophical here. And sometimes me by now, maybe if you have listened to it more often, to my podcast, sometimes I'm kind of struggling to find the right words. And you know what? Just get back to me. If you think something is not clear, just feel free to write and say your opinion and tell me what is not clear, and we can talk more about it. But I think just in general, having a creative attitude, being curious, being open, being flexible and trusting, coming from a place of security when we are open to learning things that we just might not know, but we need to learn them for a new situation. Those are just all kind of these points we're talking about here. Then we take the next point, and that we have touched on it a little bit already, but I specifically want to mention it because I love the word itself. And it is, I encourage you to be a little bit of a maverick. Be somebody who, in a good sense, and you definitely want to be able to work in a team, and you have your job assignment and whatever, definitely stick to that. But have a little an attitude of questioning the status quo. And that's important for your international work assignment, but it's also important when it comes to finding solutions that work for your personal relationships in this life of working internationally. There are certain routines maybe, or ideas how we live life, how we live our relationships, and how we should run our routines, our daily routines, or this and that, and what goals we should have. But you know what? When you work internationally, you are encountering completely different cultures and maybe settings, and maybe a new work is established, and you need to find solutions for something that has not been there before. And sometimes those old things that have worked for you and they are good, but they don't work anymore. These agreements don't work anymore. The routines don't. The goals might not work anymore. Those might not be the right goals anymore for your life or for your work life even. So I just want to encourage you to have a little bit of that attitude of, really, is it supposed like this? Like the status quo? Question it. Sometimes it's put there like it's set in stone, or as like the top standard, but really, is that how it works? So is this the right thing to do? Does it work for us as a couple, as a partnership, in a partnership with your family? So that's what I want to express with this point of the maverick. That sometimes what has been so far and what might have been really good so far as well might just not serve anymore. And to hold on to it might totally block you and actually just hinder you. And that's why always staying a little bit open to questioning if things that are set seemingly in stone and routines and procedures, how we do them, are they still valid anymore? And I say for your work situation and also for your personal situation, and especially for the personal situations, because here we're talking about the personal situations. Let's take an example, let's say you have an international job assignment and your spouse, it might be she or he, doesn't matter. Often it is she. It's still a majority of men working or having those international jobs. Let's say your partner is confronted with how they are at liberty to take on a job or continue in their job position that they have or in their education that they have. And so I just want to encourage you in that field too. Sit down and see what can you do that your partner also can reach their professional goals in it. It can be very unconventional. Could be online work. It could be. So I just want to encourage you to think a little out of the box, question the status quo before I keep babbling on here. Okay. And since we mentioned your spouse right now with a job assignment too, let's talk about the last point here. And that is not only you as the one holding an international job assignment, not only you want to have those attitudes or qualities, but if you have a spouse, if you have a partner, it is really, really of great benefit if your partner can also work on having those same qualities. Because if you are sitting there and you're starting to be creative and finding solutions, I mean, you're not alone. You have a partner there, and it's like you have relationships. There's two of you. And if both of you can think flexible, if both of you can have a curiosity attitude, if both of you are open to admit that this is just an unusual situation that you're in, then it is much, much easier to find solutions together. Even if you have a situation where you are traveling sometimes to your job internationally and your spouse is staying at the location, like at the local location, what I'm trying to say is like you don't move, okay? It's not a long-term expat position or something where you take your whole family and move. But I'm talking about a situation where your family stays back home, you stay there, but sometimes you travel for a few weeks or you travel for extended weekends or a week or whatever. And but in your mind, you are exposed to an international location, but your spouse is not. But that is a total other topic that we will cover in the fourth episode of the series, and even here, you need somebody with these qualities and these attitudes. Okay, so a lot of talking here, and I hope it was somehow informative. Approach me, let me know. I just have fun with these podcasts. I just want to put some stuff out there. It's not perfect, but I just think it's content that is of value. And I think we grow together in this. If you have any thoughts, any contributions, any experience in this, get back to me. Let's have exchange around it. I want to keep my own attitude of learning and be curious and open and flexible and think outside the box, which, sometimes I have a hard time too with it, of course. That's for it today. I'm a coach, I'm a content creator. If you think my professional qualities can be of service to you in any way, for you as somebody with an international job assignment, if you look for support, coaching, feel free to approach me. If you are somebody who works with talent acquisition or international assignment manager, HR, and you think I could be of help to your business to serve with some training or coaching or anything, let me know. You can approach me. And looking forward to hearing from you. We're in this together. Our world is international, and we find solutions for our personal relationships. We find balanced and tailored solutions because we want them to be balanced in a sense that everybody is seen, like not just you with assignment, but also your spouse. Also, if kids are involved, that we can consider them well, their needs, and also tailored. Every situation is different. Every person is different. Every relationship as a couple is different. Any job assignment, cultures are different. So yes, we can have some basic ideas, but let's have that. Let's take that liberty and that authority for ourselves to say, no, let's own it. We want to own this for ourselves. We have this international job assignment here. We work internationally, but as it affects our personal relationships, how we can live our routines, agreements, habits, goals in life, and how it affects us as a person with our identity. We want to own this. We want to make it our thing. We are kind of the head and not the tail in it. And we just find solutions that fit us, work for us. So thank you for listening. Exciting topic. Feel free to get back to me and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.